It's storytelling. That's what humans are good at. That's what we do.
Yes.
So speaking of storytelling, are you ready to hop in?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. It's so great to meet you. Thank you
You
so much for
too.
taking a minute out today.
Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
absolutely. So let's begin our journey. We kind of just talked before we got on about 9/11, and I had said I was in Europe. But another huge moment that took place for the entire globe was
Mhm.
getting through the pandemic.
Ooh.
So, how did you survive the 2020 pandemic, and how
Mm.
has it influenced you now in 2025?
Oh, such a good question. And I think one that continues to unfold, I think, for all of us. And for me, as with, I think, a lot of people, I went through a major transformation. And I was a really busy person. I was a CEO. I was on probably 7 or 8 boards. I was just running from one thing to the next. And then all of a sudden, you had this sort of forced pause. Um, and for me, in March of 2020, I actually lost my stepfather, not to COVID, but he had had Alzheimer's for 12 years and it was his end. And I had this super profound experience after his passing, where I was driving back and forth from hospice for 12 days and listening to the instrumental from the Titanic, which sounds super ominous, but I just wanted to like feel it because I knew the end was near and I wanted to feel everything.
Huh?
And he passed, and I drove home listening to that music, but got to my driveway and I was like, okay, this needs to be done now. So I turned on the Lumineers and their song Ophelia because I had
Uh-huh.
just been to a concert.
Yeah.
So that's what my radio says. It says it's playing Ophelia, but that is not the song that starts playing from the speakers.
Wow.
It is Frank Sinatra's My Way.
Wow.
And now the end is near, so I face the final curtain. And I just sat there, just goosebumps everywhere, tears streaming down my face because I know that my stepfather is talking to me.
Wow.
And this was, kind of polar opposite to my CEO business life. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what do I make of this? And he'd continued to come into my dreams, etc. And I started to explore a new space because I'm like, if this is true, what else is out there?
Yeah.
And later that year, my mom, who actually is a scientist, but part of her grieving process was reading a ton of books on like death and the afterlife. And there was this one medium who really resonated with her, and she had a 6 month waiting list. But I bought my mom time with her. And so on Christmas Eve that year, my mom gets on the phone with a medium in Arizona. We're in Vermont. And the woman says, there is a gentleman here, and he is singing. Does Frank Sinatra's My Way mean anything to you?
Wow.
And so my entire world, that was what I needed. My entire world just, and so I say that COVID, because that happened in COVID, probably that experience with a forced pause and just a reevaluation of my place in the world
Yeah.
completely and utterly changed me. So I don't know I don't know to what extent it's one thing versus another.
Right. It
Yeah.
almost seems like it was the parting gift of giving you kind of that fork in the road to say, where are you going to go? Right.
Yeah, totally.
And
Yeah.
for Frank to do that, I had during COVID, it was like 21 or 22. I had interviewed a keyboardist named Rachel Eckroth, and she was in St. Vincent. Are you familiar with St. Vincent?
No.
She's amazing. I mean,
Oh, you mean
absolutely.
the band?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, totally.
yeah,
Yes. I'm
yeah.
thinking of a place.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
she's the keyboard player, but she's a jazz musician. So I got press
Oh,
passes to come see them in Kansas City. So my wife and I go to it, and we're back there, and it's just the musicianship that's going on stage is amazing. So one of my favorite bands in the 90s was a band called Jellyfish, very Beatles-esque.
okay.
And they had
Don't
two
know them.
albums, and the guitar player was Jason Faulkner, and he's one of my favorite musicians of all time.
Okay.
So I'm all the way in the back, and I'm looking up there, and my wife sees me, and I just freeze. Like I just got caught in like the headlight. I'm like, is that Jason Faulkner? So as I start going up towards the stage, mind you, this is like one of the first shows after COVID. Like everybody finally
Yeah.
got out. We're out in the fall. It's September. It's a beautiful night in Kansas City. So I get down by the stage and I finally realize it's him. And I'm like, I can't believe he's here and I'm seeing him this close. So my best friend, one of my best friends from my 20s, his little brother is right upstage, right in front, and we look over and we lock eyes, and I'm like, it was a moment. It was the spiritual, emotive, all of it melding, and it was like it was one of those pieces on my list of I know that there's a God, I know that there's a spirit.
Yes.
You just feel it in your bones.
You
So yeah.
feel it. I mean, and music, okay, I have a I'm not going to say obsession because that sounds creepy. I have a resonance for the last year and a half with John Batiste. I cannot
Oh,
explain
he is
how
crazy
I
good.
I am following him around. I have seen him 5 times. I'm headed to Las Vegas in September to meet him.
Oh wow.
Because I just when you have that it spiritual is
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's like I am feeling some higher power in this moment. You know? It's beautiful.
He's unreal. Have you seen that movie, American Symphony on
Yes, that's where it started for me because I didn't really know about him and then watched that and I was like, pause, because I was overwhelmed with
oh
like
my.
feeling
What he did at the Grammys when I saw that, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
freedom, right? Like,
I mean,
oh
he
my gosh.
just turned into a complete. So this is why I have a jazz radio show, why I love the jazz community. John
Mm,
Batiste's spirit, what you see there is
yes.
all throughout this community. They hum at a different vibration. They see the world in a different way.
Mm,
But you know what? At the end of the day, they are the true embodiment of everything we're taught in kindergarten. It's
yes.
all about savoring every single morsel, but they're so talented. They want to pass it along. They want to do all the things we're told
Mm.
to do as human beings, but they hum. I always think of them as Jedi's in Cloud City. They're just up there kind of looking
Oh,
at us in their Swami
yes.
world. So, but John Batiste is absolutely, in fact, I don't know if he's on The Late Show anymore. I think it got to be too
No,
much. Okay.
yeah, he isn't. But I love what you're talking about with jazz. So our Performing Arts Center here, I am an emeritus trustee, and we have a Discover Jazz Festival. And I find the same thing. We had this late night club where the performances would happen, and then at 11 p.m. we would have this like awesome place where everyone would just come and improvise. And it's
Yeah.
that sort of improvisational thing
Yeah.
that I really think about with regard to life. Like
Yeah.
it's a life teaching to be able to do that, you know?
That's the other thing about this. I've realized I've been doing this for 14 years. I
Hmm.
realize the temporal nature, but how
Mm.
everything happens once. It's like it's
Yes.
obvious, but when you
Yeah,
start hearing and you seeing how these guys thrum and how they work, and
totally.
it's amazing. They open
Yeah.
up this whole different portal to
Hmm.
a part of life that you just didn't even know was there, you
So
know?
true.
It's
So
Narnia,
true. Oh,
total
I
Narnia.
love it. Love it.
It's awesome. So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do right now in 2025. I'm going to put
Yeah.
you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's career
I,
day. The kid in the back of the room is like, hey, what do
I
you do
love
for a
it.
living?
I love 12-year-old. That's sort of like that totally vibes with me. I run a pizza business. So that's, with 12-year-olds, that's fun.
Oh,
Took a
perfect.
step away from the day-to-day of that. That's my family's business, but I still, part owner and technically CEO. And then I get involved in organizations that I love and help provide support to the people that are leading those. But then what's opened up is this creative space that I think we all have in a variety of ways, whether that's, painting, writing, singing, music. And for me, that has been poetry that
Yeah.
I comes to me while I'm sleeping. And sometimes I don't remember writing it. And I have written, so it started the year after my stepfather passed. And I've written over 3,000 poems that have just guided my life. And not only guided my life, but introduced me to different aspects of the world,
Yeah.
like what's all around us, the universality of all of us, the fact that we sort of believe that we're separate, that you're you and I'm me. But what if we're just reflections of each other? Like
True.
it's broadened my life in such a beautiful way. And I also have my own podcast, which I started with a partner last year called Collecting Insight, where we explore what it means to be human.
Yeah.
And yeah, I speak on occasion. I just sort of take life in every moment, just like when you run out to the playground and in that moment you decide whether you want to jump on the swing set or go down the slide or, go on the bars
Yeah.
and like take yourself across. I'm just in every moment seeing what feels the best and seeing what arrives in front of me to sort of grab onto, this being one. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm living now. Just sort of taking it all in.
It seems like an exhale from that world of being in
Yeah.
corporate and all of that. Yeah, because it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot. So, how did we get here? Take me back to your beginnings of how you were groomed, how your DNA was groomed to be
Mm.
in a CEO position,
Mm.
and how it turned into this kind of world of poetics and freedom.
Yeah. I think that I was a product of what I believed success was in the world. And for me, I grew up really nervous. So I was anxious. Anxiety was a major threat in my life. And I was always trying to run from it. So my version of running was achievement, achievement, success, success, one on top of the other, insatiable. So I would be like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine if I would ever do this. And then I do it. And then I'm like, okay, that's great for literally 2 hours. And then I'm like, okay, what's next? What's surprised me about this new space is that they're all the same. So now for me, it is how do I take this part, the soulful part, the spiritual part, the creative part, and integrate it with what I still do. I mean, I'm still a board chair. I just finished chairing the Vermont Business Roundtable, which is a group of CEOs. Like, how do I now bring these two worlds together, make them visible so that other people have license to explore all the parts of themselves, even when they're in the corporate world and the leadership world. And, so because it's all the same,
Yeah.
and we all are trying to be human, even when we're sitting at a board table, even when we're giving, a corporate town hall. We all want and desire to have human connection.
Yeah.
And I really think it can permeate those spaces too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
who's been that inspirational force for you to not only have such a successful professional career, but to find this poetic side of you?
Um, I think that I find almost what I would call muses along the way. And we sort of laughed about John Batiste. I would say John Batiste is one. It's not necessarily someone who has created a bridge between those two worlds. I think that I am really kind of navigating that myself. But along the way, there are people who you just feel resonance with. And I have been so fortunate to have a variety of, spiritual explorers along the way who show me what it means to live free. Because to me, it's essentially freedom.
Yeah.
It's all of us on this journey to not only connect with the truth of who we are, but to be free enough to express it.
Yeah.
So I tend to find right now those muses in the creative world because that's where I see that freedom. I will say one person who is Bozoma St. John. I don't know if you know who she is, but
Uh,
she was the chief marketing officer for Netflix and
okay.
Uber. She's just this amazing woman. She also was like started Apple Music, but she brings all of herself. Like she's brought all of herself to all spaces. I love that, she sort of is the CEO side for me of
Yeah.
what it means to show up and look different and not wear what everyone else is wearing, not need to wear a navy or black suit,
Yeah.
but here I am.
Yeah.
So I think her on that side, and then just anyone who's sort of creatively expressing themselves on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what about poets? Who has been some of your favorite authors or
Mm.
poets?
Mm. Whew. My poetry, and I almost hesitate to call it poetry, but I've learned that I shouldn't negate my own work. But because for me it's almost like stream of consciousness in a way. But poets, I mean, I love Mary Oliver, but I will also name because I is Andrea Gibson, who recently passed. She is someone whose work I have just gotten acquainted with and has inspired some beautiful work of my own just upon hearing about her life. But yeah, there are just beautiful people out there who are writing some
Absolutely.
gorgeous things that connect you with nature and with the spirit of yourself. Yeah.
So, right now, today, what gets you up every day to do the
Mm,
work that you do, to write and to feel inspired? What is that motivation every day?
curiosity.
Yeah.
I am so excited to see what every moment brings, like literally. And that sounds so trite, but I am so curious about every single person. I see new connections like with you, Joe. Like I see them as like both of us sort of colliding. Like
Yeah.
I see collisions everywhere that sort of burst something new.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see every single day. So I have
Yeah.
no idea necessarily. I mean, sometimes I have meetings and things to do, but I get so excited for the moments that are spacious so that I can just learn more about the world, even if that's, walking among the trees and hearing, intuitive thoughts, hearing, talking with trees. I know that that's a little much, but true.
Yeah.
I love seeing what every moment is. So the curiosity about the world that we live in, and it goes from sort of the most spiritual to, I'm reading a book about political ideologies right now because I'm fascinated about systems of government and how, is there a new system that sort of takes pieces of all of them that would be better suited for where we are now? Like I'm all over the place, but I'm super curious about just society, humanity, and spirituality.
And it's fascinating because with age, all of that kind of gets amped up. You have a little bit
Yeah.
more like aging when your wine glass and you can see it.
Mm,
And it's interesting because when you go to Europe and you go to older civilizations, you realize how young our democracy is. So when we see these hiccups and things that are happening now, it just creates templates for what we will and won't do in the future. And
100%.
and it would be nice to be able to incorporate other levels of government thought and
Yeah.
things that make sense, that
Mhm.
hold to the tenets of how we built this democracy, which makes sense,
100%.
you know?
Yes.
So
Well, because I say to myself, to your point, we're very new in this. And, democracies, they not that they have a life cycle, but sort of at their origin, they have, you've sort of got to relook, re-examine, I guess, at a certain point. And that's sort of where I see that we are. And I love the idea of pulling in other things because as regardless of where you are politically, like it's chaotic right
yeah,
now. And it has been for many years. It's not a
yes,
political thing. And
right,
so it just requires reexamination. And not that
absolutely.
me, Sarah Byers in Vermont, is going to solve this, but those are the kinds of fun exercises
Yeah.
that get me up and get me excited.
Well,
Yeah.
all of our voices and everything that we do is a part of the collective, which is the democratic idea. But I think another thing that's really good too in this modern day and era is that podcasting, it's almost like that movie Pleasantville, where
Ah,
it went from black and white to color. There's something so wonderful and therapeutic about this realm
mhm.
of getting into this zone of sharing ideas and celebrating who we are as human beings, because we
Yeah.
get so polarized when we look at the
So
media
true.
and all of
So
these other things.
true.
But we get to hop in here because I remember growing up, there was like, I mean, I still remember the days where there was three or four channels, and it was
I know.
all the voices and stories came from this kind of corporate overlord, so to speak. But
Totally.
but now, if you have a really good podcast or you have really good things going on, it's kind of egalitarianism. It's like everybody has come in and said, this makes sense. It's truly a
Yes.
democratic process.
Totally. I mean, and it's so beautiful in that way because
Yeah.
there's so much access then to, different thought. And for me, that's what really excites me. I love talking with people who think differently than me. Like I
Yeah.
love it because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what I believe is that we're really all doing the best that we can. And ultimately, I think most of us want the same thing. So I think that, it's fascinating. We're all, when you think about truly how unique we are from a DNA perspective, like
Oh, yeah.
every single one of us is different. Like when you and I leave this show, you and I are going to all of a sudden have totally different realities, whereas
Uh-huh.
maybe we have the same one for this half hour, but
Yeah.
and so
Yep.
honoring that in each other, I think
Yep.
is huge. And podcasts have been such a way to hear other people's voices. And
Hmm.
for me, voices carry a different kind of energy. Like I love to read and but the voice in this way, even voice without sight,
Yeah.
you're taking in a really new way. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Yeah, I
Absolutely
love
it is.
that.
So let me ask you this. If you were to walk into a room of everybody that knows you in a business sense as a CEO, in that professional sense, and you swim through that room of people and go to a podium, and you can tell them one fun story. The first concert you went to, jumping out of an airplane, just a really fun adventure, a fun
Mm.
story, a magical place you visited that you didn't think was going to be magical. What story would you tell that room of people?
Oh my gosh, what a good question. Um, oh God, my mind just went to something so weird. Okay, but okay. Oh
Yes,
my,
this is the
here we
best.
go. Okay, is so I, as a child, like we all, so many of us as children are our like free-spirited selves. That's why I loved your question about 12-year-olds because we're free-spirited and probably even younger than that. And
Yeah,
me, I spent so many moments as a young child, both with a microphone, but also in the back of our paneled station wagon in the 70s, waving to everyone who would drive by without any clothes on at all. That was my happy place.
yes,
And I say that as a tie to right now because I think that's what I want to be now. Clothes aren't the thing, but
yeah,
completely unencumbered, completely free, completely open to be the spirit that we are. But I was that kid who was in the back when you're driving behind someone else, and there is this naked child who is, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, who is just sitting there without any clothes on, waving at you, smiling away, happy as can be.
yeah.
That's who I really am.
That's awesome. That would be a perfect story for that room. So let me ask you this. If you were to have a dream tonight, run into that young 18-year-old version of you going out into the world, full of fire, ready to go, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've
Mm,
lived, the wisdom you've gained, what
mm.
advice would you give that young version of you?
Nothing is impossible.
Yeah,
I think that we curate our dreams. We curate what we think we can do. We curate based on conformity, based on societal expectations. We curate ourselves. And it took me a long time to realize that anything really is possible. And it's not like you can be anything you dream of, but for me, it is to dream beyond possible. Because to go with beyond the confines of what you think can be true. Because I think as a humanity, we have to get to that next space.
yeah,
Where we are right now, I think things are challenged for a reason because we have to start dreaming bigger than we
yeah,
have. So to that 18-year-old, I would say to dream beyond big and to
yeah.
dream the impossible. Don't stop.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. Of
Yeah.
everything that you've done, accomplished, and more importantly, evolved to at this point in your life, what are you the proudest of or happiest about?
Being a mom.
Yeah,
Um, I'm sure that sounds like something everyone says. But I have a daughter, she's 20 years old, and I'm not proud of her because of the things that she's doing or what she's accomplished, but the person that she is. She has been the reason that she's my teacher, because she is smarter, more soulful, more connected than I will ever be. And the fact that I have had the honor and privilege of being able to nurture and allow that is the just greatest celebration of my life.
I totally get it. So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends,
Mm.
clients, everyone that gets your books, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your
Mm.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I'm lucky because I have people tell me who I am. I am heart and energy. And what's interesting is I didn't know that anyone could see that. I thought that I was pretending. I thought that I was standing up at the boardroom and being the, professional person. And in truth, everyone could always see me. And I had someone tell me about imposter syndrome, which I carried for a long time. A fellow CEO a couple of years ago said, so basically when you're telling me that you think that I'm an idiot. And I was like, no, I'm saying that I don't think I'm worthy enough to stand up here.
Yeah,
And he goes, no, you're saying I'm an idiot. You're saying that I'm not smart enough to see who you really are. So, imposter syndrome, we're walking around saying no one else can see us.
yeah,
Here's the reality that everyone can see you.
yeah,
So, heart and energy, and what people always said, what I minimized it myself.
yeah.
but that's what I am, and that's what I always will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
interesting. I was just watching a documentary on Kansas City, the music scene from the beginnings of like jazz to today, and there's been a lot of really good bands. And the thing that struck me is that Kansas City is a victim of imposter syndrome. We're in the middle of the country, we're not on the coasts. These bands have always been on the cusp and they've never quite made it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because of the
Mm.
caliber of the bands, it's
Yep.
because of the prevailing mentality. And it's really hard. People get stuck in that and they think, why me? I can't do that. That whole thing. Like, look at
That's
them.
super powerful to think of a location in that way, but I can absolutely see that. I lived in Cincinnati for a while, but I can
Okay.
absolutely see that perception that then just breeds reality.
Yeah.
Sort of bring it, for whatever reason, whether
Uh-huh.
that's energy or whether it just is, your own sort of limitations.
Yeah.
But it really does.
Yeah.
That's,
Totally.
whoa. And
It's
only in
wild.
awareness can you change it. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact,
Yeah.
I ran into somebody. There was a all-female rock band from the 90s named Frog Pun, and they stormed the scene. And I interviewed her. Her name is Heidi Phillips, and we ran into her at a Royals game recently. And we were talking, and we were talking, and I had said to her, I watched the documentary. What'd you think? 'Cause she was interviewed extensively. And I kind of brought that up to her. And she was like, you're totally right, but it's not because of the talent. It's because of just that mentality. And it's interesting that it was kind of corroborated. But yeah, it's interesting. Like even with Cincinnati, I can see it. Like
Yeah.
that
Totally.
being the
Mhm.
case too.
Yeah.
So speaking of cities, what do you
Yeah.
like the best about living in Vermont?
Ah, so interesting. When so I grew up in Vermont, then needed to move away. I say that just to, discover who I was.
Yeah.
And I moved back to Vermont when it was time to raise a family. And what I loved about it was its connection to nature, its peace, and its possibility. Because I don't know that I would be doing the number of things that I have done in a larger space because it's just small. So you've got 650,000 people, so you have access to the governor or access to the senator. Access to sort of make things happen. But I will say that what I have grown to appreciate is I love being in cities. I just felt called to go to Miami. January through March. And I went, my husband, for the most part, stayed here because I wanted to be in a city. I love New York. Florence, Italy. I want to go there for a month and immerse myself. So I love Vermont. It's a beautiful home base and it's a calming space for me.
Yeah.
But I also like energy and life. I think I'm getting to a space now that my daughter is not here and I'm in a new part of my own life that I need that infusion of energy too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate both.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If we get off this call, time machine pulls up and you can go anywhere in human history and see one moment with your own eyes. It won't create a ripple. It'll just be you witnessing
Mm.
something happening. What would you love to have witnessed with your own eyes?
Oh my gosh. Ooh,
There's
the
so
painting of
much.
the Sistine Chapel.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I just, when I stood there, I was out of my body.
Yeah. Y- y-
And I would love to be there when it was happening.
You know what was amazing about that? I visited a pen pal in Florence. She was at
Oh,
Castle Ferentio. We wrote throughout high school. We were just good friends. So my family's from Italy, so I go over there and I went to Rome for a few days and I stayed right outside of Vatican City. And walking to the Sistine Chapel, the amount of paintings that you see where it just keeps telling you to go and go, you're like, wait, this is like worthy of the signage. It's like it's totally it's
oh
wild.
my gosh. It really, I mean, yeah, Italy in itself, the amount that I wrote in Italy because I can sort of feel all of the energy that came before. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk about these sort of older areas that have so much more history or at least societal history than we do. And I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, feel so drawn to it.
It's amazing. Yeah, Rome was special. So let me ask you this. If anyone wants to pick up your poetry, they want to reach out, they have
Oh, yeah.
questions, any of the good business, where do they go?
Yeah, thanks for that. My website has it all, which is sarasbyers.com. But I also post poetry on my Instagram page, which is Dear Joy Love.
Okay. I will
Yeah.
put all those links in the show notes. What a
Awesome.
wonderful surprise. I'm so glad that
Same.
we arced and do each other's universe for a little bit. Thank you
No,
so much.
Thank you, Joe. This was awesome.
It was
Looking
awesome.
to get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.